Alright, Year 11. So now that we've looked at text A, which portrays the Queen in a very sort of positive light and is trying to, Rickards is trying to position her audience who are critical or dismissive of the Queen's legacy to recognise all the great things that she did in her time on the throne. You'll notice with text B, it's a very, very different vibe. Different contention, different argument, tonally very different as well. So let's read text B, which is written by Adam Gilbert, and it's titled A Woman Who Was Born into Power and Privilege. So we're going to unpack and annotate this together, just like we did with text A. So it begins by saying the Queen lived a long life, one of every kind of luxury and privilege imaginable, with never a moment to fear she would not be taken care of. So again, the opening sentence is quite critical of the Queen. I wouldn't say Gilbert is outrightly attacking and lambasting the Queen, but it is sort of portraying the Queen and her life as one that is very much, I suppose the word that you could use is sheltered, maybe. That she was sort of sheltered from any genuine hardship. So again, think about the positioning here. Why is Gilbert using this kind of language? Well, perhaps it's to position people who glorify the Queen's achievements, and perhaps it's trying to position them to realise, well, no, take a step back. She was very privileged and didn't actually experience any hardship like the rest of us sort of normal, middle, working class people have had to deal with in our lives. Okay, so again, a very different start to the article. You had Rickard starting with the sentence where she pretty much calls the Queen the most important figure, well, in the last, few couple hundred years, whereas the start of Gilbert's piece is very different tonally. The only trade-off, do not be too awful, such that I might undermine the monarchy, just hold station. So again, he's contending here that the only job the Queen really had to do was just hold station, avoid controversy, be decent, and I suppose uphold a positive image of the monarchy. Again, all these things position Gilbert's audience, and I think Gilbert's audience is very much readers who glorify and excessively, I suppose, praise the Queen's life and achievements. Bear with my bad typing, but I think what he's really trying to do is position Gilbert's audience to realise just how privileged, sheltered, and undeserving, perhaps, of praise, and I think being extolled, again, extolled meaning, exalted, treated like a godly figure, the Queen is. Okay. Again, not perfect language there. Remember, I'm just thinking out loud here, but hopefully you get my point. So she managed to do what all of us would expect of any decent person. She was nice to people and did not take undue liberty with that power and privilege. Again, trying to knock the Queen down a few pegs. Gilbert's contending and arguing here. Look, she was nice and she was decent, but that's all she had to do. As long as she didn't abuse her power and privilege, that's really was her only job. It wasn't like she actually did any genuine good in her in her time on the throne. So again, a bit more of a scathing, critical portrayal of the Queen's legacy. That we are a society which treats her approach as some kind of amazing achievement to have lived in that privilege for so long without being a jerk. Very sort of scathing, attacking language here. Again, link to tone. is a damning insight on how low the bar is for people who are born into privilege. And I think this, I suppose, forms part of Gilbert's contention / arguments, that I think society as a whole, I think what Gilbert thinks is society as a whole, we're just too, we hold the bar way too low for people who are born into privilege. Anyone else, any normal human would be expected to act in this manner, so why do we treat the Queen as some kind of godly figure? Okay. In terms of persuasive language techniques and general language choices, I'm noticing a bit of inclusive language. So I'm going to call that IL, us, we are a society. Again, the we, a bit of IL again. So that's something that we could definitely analyze. Why does Gilbert use that inclusive language? And then I think he ends with a very sort of punchy, straightforward conclusion. There is no reason the Queen could not have shut down the whole show and given everything back to the people for charity. No. Again, a very scathing critique of the Queen. She presided for 7 years, kept it all, and was not a jerk. So very, very different text, as you can probably imagine, and as you can probably interpret, compared to text A. So I think the main difference here are the audience. Text A was very much trying to position people who are critical or dismissive of the Queen to recognise all the great things that she did in her time, whereas Text B by Adam Gilbert, the target audience is readers who glorify and extol the Queen's life and achievements, and what he's really trying to do is position his audience, or that audience, to realise that, hey, the Queen really, she was generally respectful, decent, and avoided corruption and didn't abuse her power, but this doesn't mean that she's deserving to be glorified. And really, I think what Gilbert's getting to is this little argument, or his contention here, which is people born of privilege are treated too leniently, and that we as a society must avoid elevating and exalting these individuals and treating them like godlike figures. Okay, so between text A and B, some very clear differences in contention and argument, for some very different tones, and ultimately different target audiences as well. Same issue though, but audience, tone, contention, argument, language, all very, very different when you compare texts A and B.